There we go. And once again, hello, welcome to Animal Audit Corner. Alex is back this week with an update on the IRS event in the United Kingdom. And of course, I cover each and every story about the advocacy channels. That's what I've been doing all along. And some of them are really heroes. The ones that came out of Scientology and onto the YouTube channels talking about their experience. And by doing that, in my book, they are heroes. And the advocacy that the rest of everybody join in, which they would call the never ends, took part in that protest too. And they're just as much heroes. Now, that's what I've been doing all along, just in case you think I'm mocking everybody, which that's not what I'm doing. I'm just spotlighting them. So let's get down to it. Alex is back, like I said, this week with an update on the IAS, which is the International Association of Scientologists that Scientology has every year. That event takes place in St. Hill, Sussex, England. And Alex, along with the rest, would have they would have it in a giant marquee in their backyard in a huge, and Alex has all the updates on. They really know how to embarrass the US. Scientology just does that all the time. Every single time they go to another country and break their laws, they make us look, which is horrible. Every year they have that event, and each time they would put that 45,000 feet marquee. If I said it right. And they usually build it illegally. And every single, because in London, by law, you're supposed to fill out a permit, and because they want to preserve the land and all the water on it, including the country landscape. They really want to, but the district council scolded Scientology for that. They just builded it that application. Now, every law is different now, when we fill out permits, our laws would be different than their laws. And when we go down there and fill out their applications their laws would be totally different from ours. The organization usually think they are above the law single time because neighbors can't stand them. Well, the protesters do. Every single time they protest, they triumph every single time because guess what? The neighbors can't stand them and never want to have anything to do with science. Him and the rest of the England crew always succeed in their which Alex organizes every year when that organization puts on that event on. Now, he did it in he did in 2004, and it looks like he awareness to Scientology and the inhumane practices. Every year, Alex and the rest of the England crew protest that, and Scientology would cause so much damage, it would need to conduct an environmental risk. It would cause an environmental. This process identifies, but they don't do it, and usually London wants to preserve their country. The crew is usually outside their property protesting for that occasion. And they usually follow all the laws. Not like Scientology, because they would cause so much problems for them, and they can't stand Scientology. That's the name. And Scientology, because guess what? They follow none of their laws and constantly disrespects them left and right. And Scientology always causes a fight with Alex and the rest of the crew. And that's also another problem. They not only start the fight with them, they make it look like they started the fight. And then after that, they would claim that they're the victims. That's what Scientology. Usually, England wants to keep their countryside protected and and that's where the restrictions comes in. They restrict it to prevent it from running any of the so it wouldn't ruin any of the habitat that all the wildlife and assure that landscape stay beautiful. And that country always takes steps. Their country and their buildings are, what's the word I'm looking for? Are restored. And their side preserved. So families can enjoy it from generations to generations, and so they would get tourists into their country, which they do pretty good job of. Los Angeles doesn't know how to do that. And then Scientology would be the cherry on the topping that ruins the tourism here. That's the word I'm looking for. And they did it in Clearwater because guess what? Clearwater is now an empty. Then all the wildlife and its species in St. Hill are protected within all the restrictions are sealed. That's the way they want their laws. And the politicians on there have an election. That I don't know. We'll wait for Alex's answer. That organization is entirely ignoring all the laws and destroyed the landscape in that countryside. They had no authority to build the mesquite without the permit would be prohibited by law if you don't fill it out. Not only that, here, sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they forge it. And sometimes they don't apply for it at all in this country either. Sometimes they do, I can admit, but then other times they don't. Now, let's have a look at Alex's channel.
And let's not forget, they have also installed
with the mesquite, part of the mesquite is showing, and they totally turned the area into dust and all the beautiful. All right. And of course, you saw they had those motion detectors in those. Now, by the expression of Alex, they're not allowed to have it in those trees nailed. And let's hear, and of course, we heard him. Not only they ruined the whole landscape, but they also had put in the sensors in all the old trees, as you 25 seconds ago. They took the Scientology had discarded all the British laws and didn't even care. They actually, forget London. Yes, they do break the law, but they also break the law in every country they go to. And does it look bad for us? Yeah. They are embarrassing this country. It's horrible. Not only they broke all the laws there, but they totally, of course, like I mentioned, they totally embarrassed this country. They just don't care. Of course, they think they're doing nothing wrong, but they are. They would claim that they're the victims, which is the most ridiculous thing. Now, they were doing the victimization. They victimized Chris. They victimized Jessica. They victimized, and they did that to William Good. But the only difference is he started to swing back. And then, because guess what? They have cameras all over their property. But then, once the protesters started filming, but they say sometimes what goes around comes around. Of course, it's legal. Alex and the rest of the England crew did a good job protesting. They caused no And all the neighbors did not complain. And they followed all the protesting laws they have. They had discarded every law they had in the books, and they disrespected all the neighbors there. Of course, they're going to lie and say they're going to have the fundraising event, but they're going to squeeze the money out of the Scientologists. Even if they tell them that they can't afford it, they squeeze every penny out of them. According, was it Aaron? Probably was. According to him, they block every door with a table to prevent people from leaving. And they all just take away their, and not only they violate their constitutional rights, they violate everyone's civil rights in this country by keeping everybody in that and intimidate others and just put them in a concentration camp and work slave wages. And according to the Emancipation Proclamation, every slave that worked slave laborers are set free. That would be the start of that law. Because they think they can. They have no morals whatsoever. And they are a total disaster. Not only that, those people don't know the value of Tom Cruise went from good, does that in every country they go to. And they also don't. Alex is going to have another protest this year. And if you want to demonstrate in that country, check with Alex. And if you miss any of his comments, just check with that country first before going in, because those laws. And all in all, that event takes place at St. Hill in England. And Alex, along with the rest of the crew, are going to be there front and center. And like I said, you want to participate, check with the laws there and check with Alex too to see what. Then nevertheless, every year they have that event, and each time Scientology would put that 45,000 feet marquee. And overall, Alex and the rest of the England crew always succeed in demonstrating Scientology. Excuse me. This is usually outside the property, protesting for the occasion. Ultimately, Alex and the rest of the crew would be protesting outside their property. and they're not breaking any laws. Where finally Scientology always causes a fight with Alex and the rest of the crew. They have no morals whatsoever, and they were a total disaster. Okay, here's the deal. I sent an email to Buffer Squirrel asking her that politely that I wanted to be on the SP site. And then she had a rude response by saying, "Who are you?" Well, I'm the person who submits all of my contents to her. And to top it off, she was obnoxious about it. So that'll do it. You know what? Whether I'm there or not, I'm just going to keep on doing my content and contribute apologists out of Scientology. And now I am planning a project right now, and I hope it goes through. I'm not going to mention what it is because it's not really definite. So I can't say something and have it not be true. And plus, I think the season might be winding down. So we have to wait and see. Let me think here. And yeah. So no matter what, I'm still going to do my content. I mean, and plus, there are people who are not on there that should be there. Our SPTV space, that's how disrespectful she is. Now, here's the situation she told me. Club Brainfry did make the request to have herself taken off. I don't know what the reasons are, but ask her what it is. If not, and I remember and online with her, I'll ask Mark and Janice Gillen Grady's not there. Mark Fisher. And who else? Let's see if John Atack is there. So far, I haven't seen him, but I'll look again. I mean, those people are not even on there. Yeah. So I think I'll plan another project too and see how that turns out. So, you like this show? Buy me a coffee because I like to earn my dollars. So, buy me a coffee to support my channel and hit the like, press subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.